Story 1, Mercenaries, Playground of Destruction. It was Grand Theft Auto set in North Korea. You could hijack anything, destroy buildings, and call in airstrikes. Truly ahead of its time. I could never beat the final mission, though. It was amazing. Story 2. Sacrifice is one of the most imaginative real-time strategy titles ever. I do not remember much buzz about it when it was released in 2000. Unlike most real-time strategy games, it played like a third-person role-playing game rather than a top-down isometric game. You personally controlled a single unit, could summon creatures, cast spells, and engage opponents directly. The goal was to corrupt the enemy's altar. You play a wizard serving one of a pantheon of gods. The campaign is well told and imaginative. You awaken in an ethereal realm after a catastrophe destroyed your reality, possibly one you caused, and the gods there try to recruit you. Each mission lets you serve the same god or switch to another, gaining new spells and summons while retaining previously acquired abilities. So you build a growing repertoire similar to a role-playing game. As war breaks out among the gods and factions form, options close until you serve the last god standing against a horrific foe. The game features strong voice acting. Tim Curry voices the god of air, who constantly insults the god of earth. The visuals are striking. The world is built from voxels that allow dramatic terrain destruction. One spell transforms a large area into a volcano and rains flaming boulders that create deep craters. Unfortunately, it sold poorly. It was ambitious, funny, and ahead of its time. The user interface hindered the experience and made the game awkward to play. Story 3, Driver. San Francisco is a really cool game with a unique storyline. Sadly, it is not available to the public anymore. Story 4, Ghost Trick. Edit. I did not expect this to generate such intense reactions. Good job, everyone. If you want a good overview of the game, watch Mathematosis's video on YouTube. He is the person who got me into it. Story 5. For me, it has to be an old Xbox game called Metal Arms. It is a bit old now, but it is excellent. They planned to make a sequel, but the company was bought out or went out of business. Story 6. Screencheat is a split-screen multiplayer game that you can play online. Every character is invisible, and the only way to kill each other is by looking at each other's perspective, hence the name Screencheat. The game also includes some really funny additions. For example, a mode where every sound is replaced with an Australian saying bugger. Cheap and hilarious. Story 7. My Summer Car. It is a car driving simulator set in Finland in the 1990s. You build your car. Meanwhile, you drive around doing silly things and interact with the drunk men on the map. You can get drunk as well. It is a somewhat trashy game, but still fun. Story 8. I played Champions of Norath on PlayStation 2. I have been waiting for a remake forever. I loved it more than Baldur's Gate. Deadly Alliance. My wife and I must have played that game and its sequel for 100 hours. Also, no love for the Armored Core series either. When I was not killing vampires in a black pit in Champions of Norath, I would destroy mechs in a parking garage. Story 9. Brave Fencer Musashi for the PlayStation. I never expected this comment to do so well. Thank you to everyone who commented and who made me feel validated for my love of this game. Good memories. Story 10. God Hand. I know the gameplay is a little clunky, but I will be damned if it is not funny. Story 11. Split Second is a very good racing game that adds the element of destroying other drivers with explosions. Postscript. You wrecked yourself. Story 12. Kenshire. It is a bleak, dystopian game that takes place in a barren wasteland. Not a typical AAA title. It is more focused on personal computer and independent development and has a lower budget. As a gaming experience, it captures the essence of an organic game. The game presents a brutal scenario and places you in the middle of it. Whether you rise or fall, it almost feels like it is up to fate. The compelling feature is that your character grows stronger through repetition. As long as you are alive, you have a chance, even if you are bleeding, limbless, crawling long distances, and starving. This is a scenario all too common in Kenshire. Story 13. Jeanne d'Arc on the PlayStation Portable was fucking fantastic. I hoped for a sequel or at least another game from the developers. It's honestly the only reason I haven't sold my PlayStation Portable. Story 14. There is a game I recently heard of and immediately got on the Nintendo Switch. It is still quite new and has more than a few bugs, but its concept is cool and the game itself is beautiful. The game is called Pine. The concept is that you are a human in a world where humans never made it to the top of the food chain. There are 6 main species on the island, including humans, and basically everyone is stronger, smarter, and more well-established than you and your people. One of the most interesting things about the game is its always changing political status among the different species. If you ally with the Fexels, the Litters will hate you because they hate the Fexels. You can join fights or watch from a distance as a Carablin gatherer gets into a fight with a Gobbledoo gatherer. There is a main quest to follow, plus puzzles, resource gathering, crafting, and combat. It has elements that remind me of The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, but it still has plenty of bugs and kinks to work out. The developers seem active, especially in the game subreddit, and take people's concerns seriously so the game can run more smoothly. Edited to add. I see many responses saying the game disappointed them. That is understandable, especially if you played it at release before the main patches I installed. I enjoy the game despite the bugs I encountered, but I understand if others do not. I do not want to mislead anyone into thinking it is perfect, but I enjoy the concept and am willing to tolerate minor annoyances such as lag to play. If you try it, I hope you enjoy it. If you do not, I am sorry I led you astray. Story 15. Star Siege Tribes was released in either 1998 or 1999 and was one of the first games to use projectiles and mid-air combat. The base game was excellent, but what made it remarkable was the extensive modding community, which produced full-fledged role-playing games with unique textures, maps, and non-player characters. The game is largely inactive now, but a few people and servers remain. It may be nostalgia, but it had an incredible player base. Note: for an updated version of Tribes, see the Midair subreddit at reddit.com/r/midair or Tribes1 at plate1.com. Story 16. I have talked about this game before, but I think it is very underrated. In 2003, Bethesda released a role-playing game called Pirates of the Caribbean. The game is not connected to the film series aside from a few names. It features a large world of islands to explore as Nathaniel Hawke. You can choose what kind of pirate you become based on your actions: smuggler, trader, bloodthirsty swordsman, or other types. As you level up, you receive skill points to develop the abilities you want. You can hire crews for your ships. They fight at your side both on islands and at sea. The islands contain dungeons and caverns with skeletons, treasures, and powerful weapons. Ship battles are fun, but you can avoid them or handle them in a simplified way. Battles can be against other pirates or hostile nations, and diplomacy influences your standing. There are many ship types, and as a smuggler or trader you rely on them to transport cargo between islands. There is a main storyline, but the game is open world with many side quests that let you pursue your own goals. My biggest complaint is that the controls are a bit clunky, though you get used to them. I love the game and revisit it every few years, but few people I know have played it or even heard of it. The trailer is available online. Story 17. Shelter and Shelter 2 are simultaneously the most relaxing and the most stressful games I have ever played. They are gorgeous, and the soundtrack is stunning. They are works of art. Shelter 3 is coming out soon. It follows a herd of elephants, and I am very excited. Story 18. Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg. Such a unique experience and gameplay that I have not seen before. Also, the theme song is energetic and memorable. Story 19. The Advance Wars games are almost completely overshadowed by the Fire Emblem series. Both series were made by Intelligent Systems. Story 20. Golden Sun and Golden Sun. The Lost Age. These are two of the best role-playing games I have ever played. Nintendo should make another one for the Nintendo Switch. Please make it happen, Nintendo. Story 21. Valhalla 11 Hall A is a pretty darn chill game set in the future where you play as a bartender and mix drinks. The gameplay is quite simple and the characters are interesting. Also Xenosaga 1 to 3 and Ace Combat 3 through 7. Story 22, Lord of the Rings: The Third Age. I love Japanese role-playing games, and this was one of the first from a franchise I recognized and related to. The playable characters are original, and the story closely follows the films, featuring many nostalgic battles. I recently replayed it on an old PlayStation 2. It still holds up. Story 23. I know many people still play it on personal computers. It is dead and neutered on consoles, but no mainstream war first-person shooter has ever delivered like PlanetSide. Massive battles, shifting fronts, real sneak attacks, infrastructure, dropships, tanks, aircraft, open fields, cramped bases, long-range snipers. You actually took territory, and it was persistent. Not just the same 5 capture points, but hundreds. There was no better experience than fending off an unorganized wave attack with a team of players who communicated well. Every time I see a new Battlefield or Call of Duty game, it still does not come close. It might look better and play more smoothly, but it will not capture that experience. I love the cog in the machine feeling. Story 24. Super Robot Wars never picked up steam and is not mainstream in the United States. If you enjoy turn-based tactics, deep stack customization, multiple story paths, and impressive mechs, you should check it out. Story 25. Spy Party is the most unique game I have ever played because the gameplay is completely asymmetrical. The spy and the sniper are playing 2 completely different games, yet it is incredibly well balanced, and the more you play, the deeper the psychology becomes. Sadly, the player base is tiny. Everyone should try this game so I will have more people to play with. Story 26. Gauntlet: Dark Legacy. I played this game on the PlayStation 2 when I was a kid and spent many hours but never beat it. I found it a couple of years ago while shopping at a game store, so I bought it, replayed it, and finally beat it. The satisfaction was wonderful. Story 27. Crosscode, released in 2018, is a game from a Western developer that is a throwback to Super Nintendo Entertainment System-era action Japanese role-playing games like A Link to the Past. The gameplay is solid. There are a number of elaborate dungeons to play through, and the story is wonderful. It is available on Steam, and a Nintendo Switch port is apparently in the works. Story 28. Michael Jackson Moonwalker. You giggle as you shamwon the baddies. Story 29. For people who liked Undertale and other meta, fourth-wall-breaking role-playing games, there was a little game called One Shot that came out around 2014 and was magnificent. It is on Steam now, but it does not function the same way because they would not be allowed to include the same features. The original version, if you can find it, is genuinely one shot. You must follow the directions closely and accept the difficult decisions you are presented with, because you cannot go back and redo anything. It was the first role-playing game I played where the player truly acts as themselves, communicating with the main character through the game, including sneaky messages exchanged and antagonists reaching out to mess with the player. It is a hidden gem, and I will sing its praises whenever I can. Story 30. Hoo boy, I think I am way late to this party, and no one will see my nomination, but here goes. Battle Right. It is similar to Defense of the Ancients 2 in League of Legends, except each match is distilled down to pure player versus player action without the often boring early game of creep and minion last hitting. You are never in the situation where, at the 15 to 20 minute mark, your enemies have already clearly snowballed and won, yet they still toy with you for 40 more minutes like a cat with its mouse. Each spell is a skill shot and can be dodged by moving with the W, A, S, and D keys. With certain heroes, you can even reflect spells back to your enemies, including their ultimate abilities. That makes the skill ceiling very high. Some people say it is a bit harder for a new player to feel like they have the hang of it. I do not remember exactly because my first game was a long time ago. Nowadays, especially with matchmaking pairing you with other new players, it cannot be too bad. You will see how you fare after a few matches. Matches are short, around 10 minutes each. I recommend 5 to 10 games to learn the basics. That is like 2 to 3 Defense of the Ancients 2 games. It is free to play on Steam, so you can try it without hassle or remorse. I hope to see you in the arena. Postscript. Some people also compare it to the World of Warcraft player versus player arena, without having to farm for good player versus player gear. Story 31. Pyre by Supergiant Games is probably their least played title, but it is not only my favorite, it might be one of my favorite games ever. The art direction and character design are world-class. The story is unique and inventive, and the game does not end if you lose, instead the story changes. The gameplay is unusual but fun. The best thing about it is the music. It is the finest I have ever heard in a video game. Every character has their own theme, and the game ends with a song personalized to the choices you made. I cannot recommend it enough. It is a truly beautiful artistic experience. Story 32, Skies of Arcadia. It ticks most of the early 2000s Japanese role-playing game boxes but does so in a pretty unique way. It is bright, optimistic, and fun in ways that set it apart from its peers. Story 33, Eternal Darkness for the GameCube is essentially a horror-action role-playing game in which you play multiple characters over millennia. What really makes it great is that it messes with you as your character begins to go insane. Bugs crawl across the screen, and you hallucinate becoming a zombie. The absolute best moment was when it displayed a fake blue screen of death. I nearly jumped out of my skin, realized what it had done, and had to say, "Bravo, developers." Story 34. This is an odd one, but hear me out. Phantasy Star Online for the GameCube. Why, you ask? Split-screen multiplayer. I would legitimately freak out if they released Phantasy Star Online 1 on the Nintendo Switch with split-screen. I would buy it in a heartbeat. Story 35. 2 games you can play for free on your personal computer or laptop right now. The UR Masters. A remake of the 1992 game Star Control 2. You can skip the first game. You will not miss any plot. This game was a major inspiration for Mass Effect, and the UR Masters is one of the best science fiction video games ever made. It features exploration, role-playing, action, and small elements of other genres, for example management, all wrapped in an excellently written story with very memorable characters, mostly representatives of different alien races, as you attempt to lift the yoke of UR suzerainty from the galaxy. Your turn to die. This is a browser game, so you do not need to download anything. It is a mysterious anime-styled visual novel centered around a death game. Think Danganronpa but less outlandish and with better developed characters. Solve puzzles and make tough decisions to try to survive. The emphasis is on the characters, who are very memorable and are the main reason to play. It is not finished yet. Only 2 of 3 chapters have been released, but it already tells a more satisfying story than many games released in 2019. Story 36. I think Dragon's Dogma should have been more mainstream, so a sequel would be guaranteed. Story 37. A story about my uncle. It is a simple game mechanically, but it has a nice story. Story 38. Champions of Norath on the PlayStation 2. It was similar to Diablo, and I miss games like this. You had speed runes that could increase your attack speed by 8 times. It was dumb fun, and the local cooperative play made it much more enjoyable. Story 39. The entire Suikoden series, particularly Suikoden I and Suikoden 2, are exceptional games that should be held in the same esteem as Final Fantasy. You can pick them up on the PlayStation 3 store now for about $10. They are well worth the price. Please do not miss this gem of a series. Story 40. Nier Gestalt. I am very happy that Automata brought the franchise to the next level in popularity, but many fans who discovered the series through Automata are missing out on the incredible characters, story, and lore of the original. I really hope it gets a remake or remaster. Story 41. Call of Juarez. Gunslinger. The Call of Juarez games before Gunslinger were not well regarded, so I don't think many people gave this one a chance. It is a game set in the Old West where the main character tells his story to other patrons at a saloon. He makes mistakes and people call him out, so mid-mission the game rewinds and corrects itself based on what actually happened. For example, he says, "There were 1,000 men already ready for a fight." A patron replies, "In a town that size? Not even 1,000 people live there." He answers, "Right, it was closer to 100. The game then rewinds and removes a large number of enemies. Bosses are introduced in a Borderlands style. You have shootouts with other characters that involve keeping your hand steady and in the right spot before drawing. The story goes wild a few times. You can upgrade your character and gear. Some achievements involve shooting the gun out of someone's hand during a duel. or shooting a chicken behind an opponent before shooting the opponent. Solid shooting mechanics, great story, and replayability by shifting focus to dual pistols rather than a rifle or shotgun. It received decent reviews when it came out, but I heard nothing about it until I saw it on Steam a few years ago. It is worth checking out since it is cheap, $5.99. It is also on Nintendo Switch. Story 42. I still get a kick out of playing Natural Selection 2. It's an older game, but it is a hybrid real-time strategy and first-person shooter where one team plays as aliens and the other as space marines. Each team has a leader who plays the real-time strategy role and directs the other players. The leader manages resources, assigns tasks, builds structures, and coordinates upgrades. It's still a blast to play, but the online community is somewhat smaller nowadays. It is available on Steam. Story 43, Outcast 1999, is a criminally overlooked gem. The game was ahead of its time. A fully open-world action-adventure long before that was common. There are hundreds of non-player characters. You can walk up to any of them, speak, and have a fully voiced conversation. It used voxels rather than pixels. The soundtrack is fantastic, recorded with a full orchestra. The story is great if you love 1990s science fiction action, wonderfully cheesy and clearly inspired by Stargate while doing its own thing. I fell in love with the world they created. I highly recommend it. It is still available for purchase for a personal computer on Steam and Good Old Games. The original developers recently released a remastered version with updated graphics that is also available on consoles. Story 44. Please play One Shot. The impact it leaves is staggering, even weeks after you finish the game. It has a style and theme similar to Undertale, but it never received the recognition it deserves or mass popularity. There are no battle mechanics, and the game takes only a few hours to finish. It is phenomenal, heartwarming, charming, with a great soundtrack, likable characters, and a story that will leave you moved. From the Steam summary, the world knows you exist. I cannot express how much I adore this game. If you like indie pixel games with an engaging story, One Shot is a game you must play. Story 45. I had a lot of fun with the Destroy All Humans franchise while growing up. Story 46. What Remains of Edith Finch is a truly spectacular game. It is popular, but I think it is a game everyone should play. It has been years since I finished it, and I still think about it all the time. Story 47. Do you like dungeon diving, buying and selling, cute characters, and dark plots hidden behind them? Resettier. An Item Shop's Tale is the game for you. Be the shop owner in a fantasy world, scraping every penny from customers for your overpriced and sometimes decent wares. Become a millionaire and pay your debts. Meanwhile, dark forces abound. Hire a motley crew of quirky adventurers who will risk their lives for your gold and uncover a secret plot that could set back your profit margins. Play Resettier. An Item Shop's Tale now. Story 48. Enslaved. Odyssey to the West. This is a great game, even more so if you were a fan of the cult television series Monkey Magic. I do not know if it was because I was a fan, but I found it more enjoyable than most. You do not need to know the television show to enjoy the game. I was gutted when they canceled the sequel. The game received scores of 7 to 9 out of 10 from most reviewers, but it did not meet sales expectations. Edit. I stand corrected. It was not based on the television show. The television show and the game were both based on the story called Journey to the West. Namco Bandai had hoped to sell over 1 million copies of Enslaved. The publisher revealed in November 2010 that the game sold 800,000 copies worldwide, but the figure was corrected to 460,000 in February 2011. By September 2011, sales of 730,000 had been achieved, but this was not considered substantial enough to warrant continuing the franchise, so a planned sequel was cancelled. Namco blamed the game's release in a crowded window as the key factor in its commercial failure. In 2014, Tamim Antoniadis said he was not sure if the fantasy elements were a turn-off, the gameplay mix, or the lack of visibility. It was probably a mix of all three. Story 49, Second Sight, released on PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube, is rarely discussed online or in person. It may be a little dated, but it features two gameplay styles and both are a lot of fun. The story, atmosphere, and plot twist are excellent. It is sad that it was not very popular. I had a lot of fun with it. Story 50. Oh damn, this one is for me. Here is my short list of underrated games you should have played. Be advised that most of them are underrated because they are either really hard, so it takes time to realize the value they hold, or they are just very niche and very strange and thus not most people's cup of tea. Lisa. The painful role-playing game, cheap and easily one of my all-time favorite games. Below. The static speaks my name, free. Pathologic 2. Watch a bit of the Bomber Guy video about it if you're not sure. Dungeon of the Endless. Sunless Sea. Under Rail. Riven, the sequel to Myst, sells for very little and is a huge, albeit niche, classic. Tokyo 42, probably the most accessible on this list and very worth the price. So fun. Darkwood. Ambience is terrifying. Don't let the simple graphics fool you. Cryptark. Love this shoot 'em up. It has really fun gameplay and interesting procedural missions. Titan Souls, maybe too famous to be on this list. Worth playing if you haven't. Story 51. Prey 2017 did not sell that well for some reason despite great reviews. It is like a mix of BioShock and Deus Ex with a bit of Dishonored thrown in. Story 52. Vanquish is a fun, fast-paced futuristic shooter that is a bit short. Story 53. The Forest is a lot of fun, especially with friends. It's a survival horror game in which your plane crashes on an island inhabited by mutated humans and creatures who abducted your son during the crash. It also resembles Minecraft in that you can build the things you need to survive. Story 54. PlanetSide 2. Huge continent battles with dozens of tanks and fighter vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, hundreds of infantry, and extensive customization. The game is free and has been out for 8 years. The player population is lower than it used to be. There are still great fights that would be better with more players. Available on personal computer and PlayStation 4. If you download it on PlayStation 4 and play as the Venu Sovereignty on the Genuine North America United States server, contact me. In-game name Thanatos67. Story 55. Wild Arms, released in 1997, is the original PlayStation 1 version. It is an incredibly basic turn-based role-playing game, but the story is one of the best in my opinion with a great soundtrack, and I would say it was the game that first got me into role-playing games. It is a typical save-the-world game with magic and some decent puzzles. I have lost count of how many times I have replayed this game just for the nostalgia. They released a remake, Wild Arms, Ultra Code F, but I never played it because I could not get the PlayStation 2 emulator to work, and my PlayStation 2 was European, so the game was not compatible. Story 56. If you like Japanese role-playing games and dungeon crawlers, you can't go wrong with Etrian Odyssey. Story 57. Dust and Elysian Tale is my #1 favorite game, and easily the best platformer and Metroidvania I have ever played. It has a good story, great art, incredible voice acting, and humor. Everyone should play through it at least once. Story 58. World of Goo and Oxygen Not Included are both fantastic. Story 59. I just discovered Heat Signature. It is one of the best top-down shooters I have seen. You fly through space invading other people's ships, and you have a multitude of tools at your disposal. The gameplay is unique and interesting, and pause mechanics let you feel like an absolute badass. The ships are destructible room by room, so if you do not want to fight the guards ahead, you can teleport in, drop a bomb, teleport back out, and watch them get sucked into space as the room decompresses. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.